Broadcasting live. It's America's longest running talk show on computers. It's Computer America, bringing you the biggest names in technology with guest interviews, new products, and your emails. Listen live at computeramerica.com on any device around the world. Email the show at live@computeramerica.com or find us on social media. Be sure to check out our website for contests, giveaways, show notes, live video stream, podcasts, and more. You're listening to Computer America.
Hello and welcome into the Computer America Show. We are the nation's longest running and nationally syndicated radio talk show on computers and technology. Thank you for joining us. I'm your host, Ben Crossman, and everyone out there, thank you for tuning in. Today on the program, we have a great show planned for you where in the second part of the show, we will be doing computer and technology news, and that is going to be everything about new products, new stories, just anything technology related. You'll be sure to, hey, we'll catch you up. And we'll do our best, but in the first part of the show, that's where we traditionally have a guest, and today we certainly do with Viewsonic. You may recall we just had them on a few weeks ago. A different part of the company. We talked about the gaming monitors, what it meant to have, build some of the best monitors in the industry for low response times and high refresh rates and things like that. And it was a lot of fun, but not everyone needs a gaming monitor, and now we're going to be talking about a different side of kind of other product line that appeals to professionals, people who have to stare at a monitor all day long and make sure that things are really, really accurate. And again, different needs, different people, different products, and of course, a different guest. We'll be talking to Mr. Phong Phanel here in just a moment. But everyone, just want to say real quick, computeramerica.com, of course, that's where we have everything that we do here on the program. And after the show, we'll have the show notes, which will, of course, include a link to our guest website. Any products that we talk about, we'll be sure to link directly to them so you can check them out yourselves. And hey, when we do computer and technology news, everything that we talk about there will be in the show notes as well. Once again, computeramerica.com. Go there, find us on social media, podcasts, on all the major podcast distributions, and blah, blah, blah. I think that's about it. So everyone, once again, I hope that you're having a great day. You're ready for Computer America, and let's go ahead and get started. So as I said before, Viewsonic, if you haven't heard of the company, then that's okay. No, I don't blame you, but you're going to learn a heck of a lot today. And if you are a professional, if you're one of those people that think, oh, a monitor is a monitor is a monitor, boy, be ready for this. So everyone, once again, Mr. Phong Phanel, he's the product marketing manager for professional displays for Viewsonic Corp, and we're really happy to have him. Phong, welcome on to Computer America. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks, man.
Yeah, thank you for joining us. And so I gave a little bit of an introduction, and although the origins of Viewsonic, I'm a little fuzzy myself on, but I know that you guys have been around forever. Some of my first CRTs were Viewsonics, but talk about the company and kind of what your mission at Viewsonic is, and then a little bit of your background. How did you find yourself working with them?
Sure. So Viewsonic's been around for over 30 years. We started back in the 80s when, with the CRTs, everybody remembers those, the big boxes with the fishbowl plates. And we built great monitors back then. And I don't know if it's kind of shooting ourselves in the foot, right? But we built such great monitors that they were around for so long that people, during regular interviews, you're supposed to replace the technology, but having something that lasts 10, 20, 15 years, you kind of fade into the background on the new technology. So Viewsonic, we're constantly reinventing ourselves in terms of displays. With Viewsonic, over the last 20 years, you see there's a migration towards smarter, bigger, better, faster panels. First, there with the LCDs, you kind of move away from the CRTs into the LCDs, and we made that migration. We didn't make that migration as well as some other companies, like let's say Sony did, but at the same time, we moved into interactive flat panels. We moved into commercial displays, digital signage, and then, like you said earlier, we had gaming monitors that's specifically built for gaming. Mm-hmm. That's our elite brand, and that had product features like low lag time, high response, and then we also over the last couple of years, we developed a professional lineup as well. We found that a lot of people who were looking at our monitors really did want a very specific and catered feature set. And in this case, it's professional colors, color accuracy, a 3D lookup table, and hardware calibration. And that's something that we can't do in our other lineups as well. So what we did was we went to a lot of, over the past 5 years or so, we went to a lot of trade shows, talked to a lot of industry professionals, and developed a ColorPro community. The ColorPro community started off as just a sounding board for us, right? These are the professionals in the industry that we talk to get ideas on what they're looking for in a professional product and how we can build something like that. So we took all of those ideas, we, put it on the drawing board, and over 2.5 years or so, we developed the ColorPro line of monitors, and that's the VP series. The Viewsonic Professional originally started as Viewsonic Professional, which is where the VP series lineup came from. And then we lump that all into our ColorPro sub-brand. So that's where the ColorPro name and product line came from. And when we developed the products, we the first prototypes, we gave it to our ColorPro professional influencers and our partners, and we asked them to test it out and to play with it. And what you're looking at right there, her name is Renee Robin. She's a very popular and famous Adobe creator. She does a lot of her work in Adobe. She actually does a lot of webinars and tutorial sessions for Adobe as well. And we approached her and said, hey, we would like you to be one of our ColorPro partners. She took a picture and then she started playing with it. She absolutely loved it. And so if you scroll all the way down to the bottom, we have a list of, right there at the very top, the content creators we have. They span from photography, video editing, DJs, VJs. Oh, if you go back to the media artists really quickly.
Media. Yeah, there. Yeah.
Yeah, that one's a very cool one. His name is Refik Anadol. He's a global artist, and he works with projection. So that's the Walt Disney Concert Hall, and he has 32 Barco and Panasonic projectors. Each one is like $100,000 or 30,000 lumens a piece. He has 32 of them shining onto the side of the Walt Disney Concert Hall, and he's working on 2 of our VP 32-inch 4K monitors. And the graphic that he's shining onto the side of the Walt Disney Concert Hall is 50K resolution. So you've heard of 4K, 8K. Yeah. This is 50K resolution. And he's working on it with our monitors because he needs to get every little detail correctly, because once it's blown up to 1,000 feet wide, every imperfection you get to see on a huge scale. So that's where the color accuracy comes into play, the detail and the fine features of the monitor, being able to recreate something on such a large scale comes into play.
Yeah, and so you definitely you just jump right into it, which I appreciate. The first question I have, and again we'll kind of get back to other products and really the specifics and a lot of these terms that you use, but my first question after everything you just said was this idea of color accuracy, and I understand that creators and artists and people really want to see that what they're working with is is the color that they're actually trying to get, because, and let's see, there's a couple of ways that we can approach this. Other monitors in the field that are not designed for color accuracy, that are maybe 8-bit instead of 10-bit, that aren't super accurate, that maybe anyone out there would get. How bad are they? And I'm not asking you to talk smack about anyone specifically. I'm just saying that the typical monitor versus something that a professional would use. How far is that gap between color accuracy and just kind of what rolls off the production line?
Yeah, that's an excellent question. The thing is, these monitors aren't made for everybody. Right. These monitors are a premium product because they have the color accuracy and the ability for hardware calibration, which means there's some smarts built into the monitor. Most monitors don't have that, the calibration or the processing chip built in. Most monitors will take the signal, relay it directly onto the screen, and you see exactly what the signal came in as. For a majority of people out there, those work plenty fine. And that's what you're going to go buy at, Amazon, Best Buy, Walmart, whatever it is, wherever you go shopping. These are specialty monitors. You can still get them at those outlets. but they're very specialized in that they have a processing unit in there. So just take, for example, the color library that's built into the monitor. And the color library is a universal library. We work with X-Rite and with Pantone, and everybody knows Pantone colors. Every year in the fall, they come out with like their special new Pantone color. And the Pantone color library is unique in that it is universal. And so there's an RGB value, red, green, blue value associated with every color. There's additional colors associated with it, but let's just stick with RGB, so red, green, and blue. The combination of RGB creates most, if not all, the colors that we know and understand. And if you go into Photoshop and if you open up a specific color, and you click a color, any color, there's a RGB value associated with it. If you take that value, let's say it's 150, 300, or I'm sorry, 150, 200, and like 1, whatever that number is, if I type that into, if I type that into any place, any software, any program, you go to Home Depot and you mix in the paints there at Home Depot, that RGB value should be, and it will give you the same image, the same color every time. So that's what the universal color library is supposed to do, in that you're trying to recreate the same color every single time. And these color monitors are accurate in that they can reproduce that same color if you're using the 24-inch, 27-inch, 32-inch, whatever model that you're moving around. So, and it's not just a Viewsonic monitor. So if you take a Sony monitor, if you take an ASO monitor.
And just jump in here real quick. I mean, currently for the studio here, we're using, kind of 3 just kind of off-the-shelf monitors, all from the same manufacturer, and I set all the settings to be the same, and there's even a slight fluctuation between the 3 monitors from the same manufacturer with the same settings. Each of them are different themselves.
Yeah, and that's always going to be the case because panels are built differently, right? There's going to be a million LED lights in there. They're going to be, and each one is going to age a little differently from each other. So one corner of the screen will be a little different from the other corner of the screen for normal monitors, for standard monitors.
Right.
For color accurate monitors, though, you actually remove that out of the equation, because you can now calibrate all the image onto the screen to a certain uniformity. And then not only within the same screen, you can then calibrate it from one screen to the next and know that each screen, once calibrated, should look almost exactly the same. And that's only one phase of the workflow, right? So now we're only talking about monitors, between monitors and within the same monitor. For a professional workflow, you're looking at capturing the image using a camera. Well, you have to see the image first using your eyes, then the camera, and then you have to render the image onto your laptop, computer, monitor, and then you have to print the image, or you send it onto a website. So all those different stages of the workflow, from camera to computer to monitor to website to print to printer, those all have to be calibrated to a certain standard. And Pantone RGB values is the standard that we use, because we partner with X-Rite, and X-Rite creates all of the hardware calibration tools. Along with, there's other people in the market as well, but X-Rite is the big player, and that's the partner that we chose to work with because they own Pantone colors. And so now internally we have a library of colors, and then externally we have the hardware that can calibrate to that color standard.
Right. Yeah, it's you definitely want to be compliant with the biggest standards, because obviously, hey, that's probably what the next people who are going to be using your images are going to be using. We have a correspondent here for the show that we have on once a month. He's a graphic designer for Hollywood, and he works more with like video effects, not just photos and things like that, but with CGI in Hollywood. And he's every time he comes on the show, he talks about a new color accurate monitor that that he's like lusting after, because and you could probably speak to this better than I could, but like you said way at the beginning, back in the day when things were phosphorescent green and CRT monitors were just kind of there to kind of convey a basic image, wasn't a big deal. But there's been a lot of advancement in this field. Like a color accurate monitor from 5 years ago is going to be very much behind a color accurate monitor today.
Right, and it's also the democratization of the technology. right? 10 years ago, most people are going to pay $10,000 for a high-end color accurate monitor, whereas nowadays a high-end, quote unquote, high-end could be $1,000. And the normal everyday Joe, like, the weekend warrior, the person like me, I mean, I do a little bit of weekend photography, right? I'm nowhere near as professional level as our partners are. But at the same time, I'd like to go out, snap a few pictures, and play with it a little bit in Adobe. And in that case, I can afford something like this, $500 to $1,000 range that can do everything that someone spent $10,000 5 years ago doing, and they can do it to 99% of what the high-end monitors and displays can do. So having access to the technology means that a lot more people are able to do something like this, to post on Instagram, Facebook, and have professional quality videos and images that they just wouldn't have had a few years back.
And kind of branching off into that, like we said here, if you go to the website, again, we'll have a link to this page here with all the different photographer, artist, music producer, media artist, web designer, all these different people that are, all these different lines of work. They're probably going to want different kinds of monitors. And let's go ahead and kind of go off into the different monitors that Viewsonic kind of offers. Because, hey, a musician probably doesn't need the same thing as a graphic designer does. So if you wouldn't mind, did you want to branch into talking about these different monitors that Viewsonic offers?
Sure. So putting aside all the gaming monitors and all the general productivity monitors, we're just focusing on the professional monitors right now. So you're looking at for web design, you're looking at something that just probably needs sRGB, right? So those are going to be in the more affordable range, in the $400 to $500, $600 range. You can get I believe there's a VP3268 that's $799 for 32-inch 4K color accurate sRGB. I mean, that's a really good kind of it's a good premium, but it won't break the bank model because it is 4K. 32 inches is huge.
Right.
It has a USB port, a USB hub in it, so you can actually plug in all of your like peripherals into that, your storage devices or whatever it is, and you can actually access it from the monitor itself. For graphic designers, website designers, we recommend sRGB only because sRGB is the most affordable with the large color space and color accurate. And since you're posting onto a website or anything that's transmitted digitally, the standard for digital transmission is going to be sRGB. So you don't need Adobe, you don't need DCI-P3 because those are larger color spaces. And basically, It's just going to shrink. When you transmit the videos or the audio, the videos or the graphics, they're going to shrink to the sRGB color space. So if you know that it's going to be posted in sRGB, work in sRGB, and to eliminate any color discrepancy between what you created and what people are seeing. So that way, you're trying to build consistency.
Right.
You're creating something as best you can. That's most aesthetically pleasing. You want to make sure that people are actually seeing what you're seeing when you post it onto your screen. The second group of people we target is photographers, and for photographers, they actually they want to print their work. A lot of them do post onto websites, but at the end of the day, they know that somebody, either they are going to print it and sell it, or they're going to send it to their customers and their clients, and their clients are going to send it to a print house to print the products on. And I would like to stress that a print house is something like a Bay Photo, right? So a professional print house that that prints it on good quality paper using good quality inks and is color accurate as well. Like, I don't mean taking it to Costco, and because you're not going to get the same print quality.
They'll print anything that's in front of you. They won't balance anything. It's just, hey, whatever you get them, that's what you're going to get. Yeah, exactly.
And so, we talk to a lot of photographers where they're trying to convince their client on like this needs to go to a professional print house, and they're charging a premium because you're getting the best quality. And the other person, the client, then comes back and goes, no, I'm taking this to a $10, and it's just not the same, right? You're paying $1,000, $5,000 for a professional photographer to take the pictures, but then you're not spending the money to get it printed correctly. So that's the other thing, right? The workflow needs to make sense. So if you're paying professional quality for a camera, like a $5,000 camera and lens, $5,000 computer and monitor, don't cheap out on the print either.
Yeah, if people want a probably a more in-depth kind of conversation about this than I could probably give, we had Fracture on the show not too long ago, and they print on glass essentially, and yeah, just it's pretty incredible how accurate they can get, and but at the same time that having them on the show, they said that their number one issue that they run into is that people send them low quality, low resolution, poorly taken photos, and then they complain when the product that they get isn't a good product. So
right.
So
photographers, they calibrate their camera, they calibrate their computers, their monitors, they calibrate their printers to the CMYK color space, and that aligns more to the Adobe color space. So if you're printing, then you're probably more inclined to choose the Adobe color space. The Adobe color space is much larger than the sRGB color space because you can get more accurate colors in skin tones, in the grays, and in the darker colors. So that's where the premium comes in.
By the way, and by the way, for anyone out there watching the video portion, just checking out this the VP2768-4K, super easy to remember. But I was reading the description, and as I mentioned, I was under the impression that 10-bit was something that was kind of like a step above the average consumer and what they have. 10-bit color gamut was kind of what people were going for. Here you have a 14-bit 3D lookup table, but as you mentioned here, about 4.39 trillion different colors. 14-bit, I've never heard of that, and this lookup table, again, this is a monitor that even in your own description say great for photographers, designers, videographers. 14-bit, how common is that?
So there's a distinction between the panel bit and then the lookup table. So the lookup table is 14 bits, which so a bit determines how many steps in between each color, right? So if you go from white to black and you have, let's say, 8 steps in between them, so you're going to go from white, light gray, middle gray,
shades
dark
gray,
gray, black, right? And if you have a trillion steps in between them, you're going to have a really nice gradient from white to black. So that's kind of where we are with this. The more bits you have in terms of the lookup table, the more steps you have in between, the smoother the gradient there. What you're talking about is in terms of the panel, and the panel is able to reproduce how much. So one is the brain, and then the other one is kind of the language, right? Like what is it telling you on the screen? So the screen is going to be 6-bit, 8-bit, 10 bits, but the brain behind it is 14-bit, and it can actually do much more calculations than it can actually show on the screen. So so our panels are 10-bit, but the lookup table behind it has a 14-bit reference.
Thank you for clarifying that. And of course, I guess that's what you were talking about with the processor inside of it that can render all that kind of thing. Very important. So again, thank you for clarifying that. These monitors are, and just kind of going back to Viewsonic, when we talked about the Elite line of monitors, one thing that stood out to us, and we have a review up on our website, but spoiler alert, the monitor was great, and we talked about that at length and blah blah blah, but one thing that really stood out to us was kind of the stand, the way that you can easily switch orientation, kind of the durability of that kind of thing. Did that design philosophy of kind of rugged but durable and still kind of sleek and stylish, did that carry over to the professional line, or
Yeah, so the design on this one is a little bit more toned down compared to the XG lineup. You can see that the lines are pretty slim, and the slight curve of it pushes it forward just a little bit for the user. If you look at the front of the panel itself, though, it's 4-sided bezel-less. There's 0 frame all around it. If you click on one more image above that, you can really see there's 0 frame all around the edges, and we did that on purpose, right? We didn't want to put our logo right in front of it, because for professionals, for professional photographers, video editors, people usually work in a slightly dimmer environment than the normal production, right? Than the normal office. And that's because they want to see every color. And the recommendation that we got from our partners is they actually take the brightness. These monitors come with max brightness of about 300 nits, right? They take it down to about 120. And because there's an inverse effectiveness in terms of brightness and color. The brighter you make it, the more blown out the colors can be, right? So when you see these, like the gaming monitors or the home entertainment monitors, you'll see that they'll advertise 1,000 nits or 600 nits or something like that. And for certain applications, that works great. For cinema, it's beautiful because then you get the huge explosions with the really dark darks, right?
Yeah.
It works really well for certain applications. But when you're trying to edit a photo, you want to see the colors, the gradients, the detail. So they actually take the lumens down, the brightness down all the way to about 100, 120. And they work in a dim room so that way they can see the details more clearly by reducing the brightness a little bit.
I gotcha. And and of course, the other part of this was a number of the monitors that that we were talking about for the professional space. They curved and not curved. This is that sounds almost inappropriate for a tech show, but let's go ahead and talk about the curved monitor. I know that for gaming, the rule of thumb that we have for gaming is like if you're a first-person shooter, you kind of want the 1920 by 1080p high refresh rate, that kind of thing. If you want an immersive RPG kind of experience, the big ultra-wide curved monitors might be your thing. Kind of different applications are going to be better suited for curved and not curved. When it comes to a photographer or designer, I can see how, in my head, I can kind of think that maybe the little bit of curve might actually warp the image a little bit on the monitor. Although at the same time, it may allow them to more easily kind of edit a video, being able to kind of see more of the video. How are your content creators, professionals, the people that you talk to, how are you kind of fitting curved monitors into this line of products?
You hit the nail on the head. When we originally designed the curved monitors, or chose to design a curved monitor, the idea there was for video editors. And if you want to go into, I think there was a music. This one works perfectly. Actually, if you go into there should be a music producer.
Yep, right here. Oh, so yeah, he has the super ultra wide, yeah.
Yeah, so he has a 38-inch ultra wide, and the reason for that is he can get a really long timeline in, right? So when he's splicing 10, 12, 14 different video clips in there or audio clips, he can actually listen to the whole thing as it progresses, and the ultra long timeline gives him a little bit more precision in where he slices the image and where he slices the audio tracks to add them back in. It also gives him the ability to have multiple windows on the left side, so he can have his his sources there, his clips, his everything there all on the same panel, and then move it around and make it a little bit easier for him to work with. And for video, for audio, you really need that long timeline so that you can focus on what you're trying to do. But like you said earlier, there are people who just cannot work with a curved screen because, they're used to being flat. They don't like the distortion. We found that for the most case, it actually bringing in the sides actually helps in the productivity. Because once you get past a certain size on a monitor, like let's say 32-inch, right? Now you're looking at if you're at a 30 centimeter viewing distance from the center of the screen, if you look at the corners, you're at like a 31 centimeter, right? And there's like a 1 to 1.5 centimeter difference in terms of distance, but your eyes are compensating for that. And, it's focusing from 30 to 32, 30, 32 back and forth all day long. That actually does affect your vision. Some people, and for other people, it may not affect them at all. Like it works just fine for them. But we've known some people who said that, they get headaches after 10, 12 hours of looking at a screen. And so, for the first thing is looking at a screen for 10, 12 hours is going to give everybody a headache. Right? I don't care if you're gaming or watching a movie or whatever it is. But at the same time, this is their business. This is what they do 15, 20 hours a day. So we want to make sure that they have an option where at least one of those things are taken care of. Like, we can eliminate one of those the problem for the user. So at the 38-inch, now you're looking at 5 centimeter difference between the front of the screen, the center of the screen versus the corner of the screen, and that may be a little bit worse. The other thing is we've talked to interior designers and architects and CAD designers who say that the lines absolutely have to be perfectly straight, and having a curved monitor doesn't work for them. One of them shared with us a trick that he does is he actually puts the monitor, the image on the screen, just takes a ruler and puts it right up to the screen and says, "Yep, that's black." So that's how he works, and so a curved monitor won't work for him for something like that.
I gotcha. Yeah, it's a low tech solution to a high tech problem. I definitely like that. And so there are so many different other fields. So let's see. I had this other question here for you about how Viewsonic and your approach and kind of your design philosophy differs from your competitors, because monitors. I mean, there are the super low end where, oh my God, there's a new company coming in trying to have a new budget monitor all the time. And monitors kind of suffer from the same thing that other peripheral, the mouse, the keyboard, so on and so forth, that they suffer from. There's a lot of competition. So I wanted to ask you how Viewsonic, what makes you think, what makes you stand out from your competitors?
So Viewsonic, the ColorPro lineup particularly, we work very closely with our partners. And so when we work with our partners, we actually talk about them and we talk to them on what they need and where they see the technology is going. And we design our products for them. And when we design the products, we typically design it for the top end, and then the features will trickle down, and then it will become more mainstream. As as we talked about at the beginning, where 5 years ago something would have cost $5,000, $7,000, you design for that market because those are the new features that not everyone needs, only a specific few will need. But then over time, you'll get that trickle down into the mainstream, and you get more and more people being able to purchase that and be able to have access to things like that. The lookup table is pretty standard in our VP lineup. We have our high-end Adobe monitors, and that's only come about in the last couple years or so. And Adobe is a larger color space. Not everybody needs it, but eventually you'll see, having more and more panels support that. So one of the things that we're looking at is, if you're looking at sRGB, sRGB was a larger color space compared to the standard color space or no color space at all, right? So having the ability to have hardware calibration and color accuracy was the start. Moving into a larger color space is another start. And then when we design for them, one of the things that we notice is people are migrating away from having large desktops for editing and moving to the high-powered laptops. And so laptops are going to be, like MacBooks are getting up there in terms of processing power. You have gaming laptops that can work on these images just fine. And so you see people moving away from the desk and then working at the park, working at the coffee shop, whatever it is.
And obviously I'm sure that COVID might have skewed those numbers just a little bit over the past year, being right. able to leave your house, right. Not the biggest attraction right now, but I got to say that that's something that we have noticed when we talked about the workstation replacement laptops that can cost as much as a high-powered desktop, and then a little bit more, but they're portable. They run about 23 minutes without a power source, but when they're plugged in and they're sitting there, they actually deliver all of the utility and all of the power of a full-size desktop. Those I have seen those getting popular because, like you said, the ability to kind of pick up and go to another state or take it out with you, the convenience outweighs any kind of performance boost that the little tiny performance tweaks that you can get. So
right,
or
even move to the living room.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
They could just take it and just sit on the couch for a little bit. And so for that, what we've done is we've incorporated USB-C into the monitors. And USB-C is single cable connection. You get power delivery, you get data, you get video, you get sound. And so all of that. And now actually the monitors with the USB hub behind them makes it even more utilitarian, because you have, you could plug in your storage devices there, so you can access extended storage. You can plug in your keyboard and mouse onto the monitor, and you can access that via the USB-C cable. So, we're seeing the trend, and then all the new monitors that we're launching will have the USB-C connectivity on it, and then, moving on from there. So that's something that we talk to the designers, we talk to the people behind our partners, and make sure that we're designing something, that's premium for them.
And let's face it, cable management is certainly a thing. I'm sure that a lot of people out there have have their workstation set up in just a rat's nest of cords behind there. And hey, if we've run into this before with again our correspondent, if a monitor suddenly starts to flicker or doesn't work right, the ability to just kind of rip out the monitor, and it may seem so strange to someone who's not a professional to just kind of take away $1,000 monitor and want to throw in $1,000 monitor, but having that ability to kind of easily manipulate your work setup is also very good. So I'm happy USB-C, and obviously a lot of products are kind of trending towards that, so definitely good to hear. So again, if you're watching the video portion, we've been kind of looking through the VP line of monitors that you have here. We have a question here for you about the different lineups and what they kind of offer between the VP, the VX, the VG models. What are the main differentiations between the VP, VX, and VG models?
So you said in the previous interview you had the XG lineup, the Elite lineup in there, right? So those were designed specifically for gaming, and they had a lot of gaming features in there. And I liken this to like a toolkit, right? You have like a toolbox full of tools. Each one is designed for a very specific need. The VX and the VG, those are our mainstream lineup in terms of productivity and entertainment. So those are kind of like the Swiss Army knives, right? They can do everything moderately well. They can't do anything really well. The XG lineup is gaming. That's our Elite lineup. And that, that's not going to be for your everyday. You're not going to use that for, it's not the budget monitor. The VP is definitely not the budget monitor. And you're not going to use that for gaming because, there's a 14 millisecond lag. So the first thing is, if you're going to try to use it to play first person shooters, you're going to get shot in the face. But the XG monitors isn't color accurate, you can't be calibrated. So it's not going to do well side by side with a VP monitor, right? So now you're looking at a hammer versus a saw. Each one is designed very differently, and it's catered to doing one thing very, very well. VPs are designed for color accuracy, hardware calibration, and reproducing accurate colors for professionals who need it. And I'm going to segue just a little bit, because there's FreeSync is mainly a gaming feature. Right. It's a feature that gamers like, they want, they need, because it changes the refresh rate of the monitor to match the output of the graphics card. So then that way you're producing the best video on screen as you can produce on your graphics card.
There's no tearing, there's no stuttering. Yeah. Yep.
Exactly. Yeah. So what we found is, when we talk to a lot of the newer generation of creatives, I'm going to stratify this just a little bit, right? The older generation of creatives, they work in a particular way. They're happy with the way that things are working for them, and it works for them because they've obviously lived a long and profitable life in what they were able to do. The newer generation is trying to create value for themselves, right? They're trying to break into that market. But at the same time, they're trying to hold on to their old life of teenage gaming. And I fall into that category as well. I do a little bit of gaming on the side, not as much as I'd like to with family and kids.
I have to ask, what is your game of choice right now?
Right now,
Yeah.
oh man,
Currently,
right now it's back to Dungeons and Dragons.
I don't know if you're joking or not, but that's actually gotten pretty big on Twitch. Watching people play Dungeons and Dragons, it's actually a very entertaining kind of free format kind of thing. But yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead. So you're saying that we're starting to see some blending, some bleeding over between the different lineups that you have. I'm assuming.
Exactly. Yeah. So we have and a few of the new partners that we picked up, the ColorPro partners that we picked up, what they reference or they asked about, is this good for gaming? And at first we had to say, no, this isn't good for gaming. Maybe RPGs, you get the good colors and everything. But for first-person shooters, for real-time strategy, you will lose
to the Jiggle Peak, but boy, will that red look so vibrant when you're dead. It's exactly.
So I mean, hearing that a couple times got us thinking about, hey, why can't we build a crossover or at least add some features? So that's why we added that feature to the 34-inch ultra wide. And the 34-inch ultra wide curved is the VP3481. That one's designed for games developers, designers. So what they can do is they can design with and see it in real color, accurate color, whatever it is they need in designing the landscape. But then they can also test that in real time to see what their game is going to look like to the end user. So if they're designing something that's 60, 80, 90, 100 hertz, they can actually test that and make sure that, you know, there's no juddering, there's no breaks or anything, and make sure that the end user, when they play the game, is playing it at the best performance they can up to a certain standard.
Right. That's and you know, personally, again, as someone who also plays video games on their work computer, it's I'm happy to see that happen as well with your monitors. So let's see, just kind of going over the questions. Though I have to ask you, kind of as a personal thing, you seem very passionate about monitors and obviously the professional line, really all the different segments that your company is catering to. I have to ask you on like a personal level, what has you excited for the future of displays? Obviously, there's new form factors coming out in virtual reality, augmented reality, that kind of thing. Although at the same time, as we've been talking about for the past half hour, or even longer, that traditional monitors, people have been saying, as long as I've been doing this, the desktop PC is dead. No, we've seen people kind of gravitate more and more to traditional setups and traditional monitors, and there's almost like a resurgence of what it means to have a good traditional setup. Personally, what appeals to you about the future of display technology?
So the monitor is always going to be there, and that there's going to be other entrants into the market. VR, AR, those are amazing technologies. But at a certain level, you can't replace a monitor because it gives you a baseline performance on what it can do and what you can share with other people. The most exciting thing for me is to see what other people are doing and how they're incorporating it into their creativity. So being able to work with our partners who are extremely creative. So far we've only talked about basically something in 2D, right? So, like prints or the displays on the screen, graphics, websites, whatever.
Well, we did talk about that amazing thing at Disney with the projectors and
right.
Yeah.
Right. So that's the kind of stuff that's actually really exciting to see what other people are doing with it. We're working with people who set up concerts at the Rose Bowl, and they use our monitors to test the 400-foot LED wall to make sure that the colors are lighting up properly. We actually have a team that we're working with. I don't know if I can plug them right now, but they do a lot of augmented reality. And they do a lot of projection work, which is really cool because it's mixed media. It gets people very interactive in what they do, and
right.
That's what you're trying to do with displays. Is you're trying to create something that forces people to interact with it, to engage with it, and that's where the most fun is, right? Like at the end of the day, I don't want to say this out loud, but a monitor is a monitor, right? And it's a black box until you put something on it. And it's our job to help people put something creative onto that box so that way, it's it's just a representation of their creativity. And so that's where the passion comes in, right? Because it's, the monitor is a tool.
Yeah, and I definitely see where you're coming from, and obviously you could take that the wrong way. But to me, it seems like you're saying that's almost the same argument as a pencil is a pencil, a paintbrush is a paintbrush. But hey, there are artists all over the world that need 1,000 different paintbrushes and need 1,000 different pencils. Yeah.
No, I absolutely agree. And going back to the pencil, I mean, I play Dungeons and Dragons, which is pencil and paper, but it's probably the most fun I've had playing any game, right? So
of course,
that's kind of where I'm going with it. I hate to devolve this. It's into basically just the monitor, but the monitor is a tool for the person to paint a canvas on whatever it is they're imagining. So that's the exciting part, is to see where people are taking the monitor and just doing stuff with it.
And just to throw in my 2 cents here is that what gets me excited about having companies such as yourself on the show and talking about this is that democratization that you were talking about earlier, where 10 years ago 10 grand, 5,000, now it's about 1,000. In the future, in a couple more years, it'll be kind of the standard. People, I think today, if you tried to sell a 720p monitor, boy, your sales would be pretty low. 1080p is currently the standard. What gets me excited is that in the future, super color accurate or super high refresh rate, that is going to become standard, and I think everyone is going to be able to enjoy. Like, imagine if you're a content creator, everyone's going to be able to enjoy what it is that you're doing the way that you meant to see it. So I think that the technology evolving to a point where it's just kind of standard, that's what's exciting to me, is that everyone gets to kind of partake in this. But I really do appreciate you, Phong, talking about, hey, what the professionals are using and what they can definitely get their hands on. And by the way, you mentioned a couple of the big box stores. Where's the best place to go for more information, and the best place to go to maybe take a look at these things, get hands on, or order them themselves?
Yeah, so you can go onto our website, viewsonic.com/color, and that's exactly where you are right now, and you'll get all the information you need. You can always buy our products off of Amazon or our own website directly. So those are probably the 2 best places. B&H Photo would be another place because, well, they specialize in photography, so it's a good place to go.
Yeah, and just real quick, I also saw something here about a warranty as well. I know that professionals, if they are looking to invest in something, they want to make sure that the company stands behind it. You have a warranty for all your products as well?
Yeah, so the VP lineup is our premium product, excuse me. And it has a 3 years replacement warranty. So if anything happens in the first 3 years, return it to us. We'll either fix it or replace it.
Hey, very, very easy. So once again, everyone, we have been talking to Mr. Phong Phanel. He is the product marketing manager for Professional Displays and gave a darn good interview. I can't say that word. Darn good interview. And really, Phong, thank you so much for coming on Computer America and talking with us. A lot of great information.
Thank you. I really appreciate it.
And actually, before we boot you off so unceremoniously, I got to ask, is there anything that we didn't talk about that you thought that maybe we should, kind of let our listeners know about?
Yeah, so this year's been kind of weird in terms of trade shows, but if you ever want to see any of our products in action, we have a calendar on our website. This year, that calendar is empty, but for most years, we're at Adobe Max, Adobe Summit, WPPI. So all the major trade shows for graphics and content creators, we'll have it updated on our website. So thank you.
Yeah, I had the pleasure of meeting your team out there at CES, at Showstoppers, I believe, and also PepCom at CES just before this whole thing happened, and it was great meeting your team out there, and great being able to see, kind of for myself what it is that we're talking about. But Phong, once again, thank you so much. Open invitation, maybe in a couple months when some new stuff comes out, you're welcome to come back on the show. But in the meantime, thank you so much, and have a great day. We'll be in touch.
Thank you. Have a good one.
Have a good one. Bye-bye. All right, everyone. And there you go. Again, if you want to find out more, go ahead and go to computeramerica.com. We'll have a link to Viewsonic. And, hey, you can definitely check that out right there. So, everyone, let's go ahead and continue on with the Computer America show. We're going to go ahead and do, computer and technology news brought to you by Computer America. Here we go. Ladies and gentlemen, we have, 10 or so minutes to do computer and technology news. We have a lot to talk about. One of the first things that I wanted to talk about was something that happened yesterday. Actually, it's been a couple days ago. And that was, of course, the Twitter hacking marathon that happened. And I'm still looking for answers myself. I'm sure that a lot of you probably have heard by now exactly what happened. It was a veritable show of sorts. And let's go ahead and talk about this real quick. Power Post, and this is by the Washington Post. It's kind of a jumping off point that we're going to be talking about here. Twitter just proved it can't keep the accounts of global leaders safe. For those of you who don't know, the hack impacted thousands of people. And it's almost like a publicity stunt. And by almost, I mean it definitely is. Although, of course, a lot worse things could have happened. I feel like if they were more targeted, but this was pretty incredible. They said that the massive Twitter breach yesterday wasn't just disruptive, it was a sobering reminder that even the most powerful social networks are vulnerable to attacks. The hack impacted everyone from Joe Biden to Elon Musk, raising new concerns over the Twitter's ability to keep global leaders' accounts safe. And of course, this will have wide-ranging implications for the service that has become a core communication for American society, disseminating everything from President Trump's rockets to corporate news. I gotta say that's probably the biggest one. Obviously, with our president, Trump tends to announce things on Twitter, and almost before even his own cabinet can kind of catch wind of it, he'll announce major policy changes. He'll announce major military changes. I think there was one a couple years ago about we're pulling out of the Middle East, or we're stopping aid to this, or we're stopping this. Little things like that, and little tweets like that have big implications for thousands of military personnel, for millions in dollars in funding, to just huge implications for the area that they're in. And now imagine that the President of the United States Twitter account was then compromised. It would be hard to tell what's real, what's fake, and at the same time, what happened yesterday, for those who don't know, about 100,000 different Twitter accounts with almost every follower you can imagine, all tweeted at the same time about a Bitcoin scam. And everyone from Kanye West to Elon Musk, of course, to every influencer that you could possibly think of, they all tweeted about it at the same time and almost broke the entire service. So, huge implications there. Obviously, this is a private company. This is a private forum. But of course, more and more news outlets and public figures are using it as an official channel, an official forum. It's a very strange time to be in. Now, let's go ahead and quote the article here, saying, quote, "The problem is that we all rely on Twitter as this public space that is safe and secure, and we know that the tweets that someone like Joe Biden is sending out are authentic. Twitter has proven us that might not be true. And like I said, if it weren't for 100,000 people all tweeting the same message about the same scam, if this were a more targeted attack, saying that one person does one thing that's kind of within their purview, and then other famous or huge names kind of piled on and liked it, retweeted it, and kind of went on, so on and so forth, this could have been much more impactful if it weren't done so ham-fistedly. Accounts belonging to prominent billionaires and politicians began posting similar messages yesterday afternoon, asking for money to be sent to cryptocurrency accounts, and the messages received thousands of likes before they were taken off Twitter. In some instances, they were posted again from the same account. And they even have a response here from Twitter yesterday saying that we detected what we believe to be a coordinated social engineering attack by people who successfully targeted some of our employees with access to internal systems and tools. There you go. We know that that they used access to take control of many highly visible, including verified accounts, and tweet on their behalf. We're looking into what other malicious activity they may have conducted or information that they may have accessed, and we'll share more as we have it. Twitter has this thing. Computer America has it, not to brag, but we are a verified account, little check mark, and that little check mark means that, hey, anything coming from the Computer America account is not a fake message. They did that because people were making parody accounts, people were making secondary accounts, and hey, you can be sure that if you see Computer America with a little check mark, Computer America did it. This throws that entire system that they've been building up for months into question. Now, obviously, it's the employees that they targeted are not the influencers. They are not the billionaires. They are not the people with thousands upon thousands upon thousands of followers. They're everyday people like you and me that probably use their pet's first name, their street address, the first 3 digits of their phone number for passwords. They really don't have as much concern because just like you, sitting there listening, how concerned are you that there would be a coordinated attack on your social media accounts? It doesn't happen every day. And this just goes to show that security, as much as we talk about it, as much as we beat that drum, not everyone takes it seriously. And even the support staff of a service like Twitter, today Twitter, tomorrow Facebook, the next day, insert other social media here. I think the big secret about cybersecurity is that no one is doing it well. That may be the worst part about it, is that we know the ways to do it. It's just so anti-convenient. It's so it's a pain in the butt. And in the grand scheme of things, with until we find out a way to get rid of usernames and passwords, that's going to be the biggest security flaw that you can have, because that can be stolen, that can be taken, and that can be used to access things outside the system. I'm looking forward to hearing more about Twitter and how this actually happened, and I'm actually pretty curious. But again, from my understanding, just Twitter employees who had access to internal systems that they would, of course, be able to do this. This was not because 100,000 famous people lost their passwords or lost their usernames. No, it's because a handful of Twitter employees who are not famous lost their passwords, and so on and so forth. Yeah, they said that they even have a quote here saying that the hackers could have sown mass chaos with the privileged access, but technologists warned that it could have been far more damaging, saying they were lucky it was a Bitcoin scam and not something that was greater or more nefarious. Off the top of your head, you can imagine, you can imagine, they have a quote here saying, imagine this was on November 3rd, just before elections. This could be used to, so just have a lot of confusion, saying that, let's say Joe Biden drops out of the presidential race, and and then 100,000 people kind of verify it and say, oh yeah, this is true. That could be huge when it comes to election meddling and election fraud. Obviously, Twitter is going to face a lot more scrutiny over how this happened, but my big point, or my big thing here, is that it shouldn't be just Facebook. This should also be, this should not be just Twitter. This should also be Facebook or any other social media, because they do have this power. They do have a responsibility to keep their platform secure. And yeah. They have a quote here from the founder of Twitter saying, tough day for us at Twitter. We all feel terrible this has happened. We're diagnosing it, and we'll share what we can when we can, and share exactly what happened. And yeah, I hope that whichever employee was compromised, don't take this too personally. I mean, they just had a big X on their back, and unfortunately you can't dodge all of the, you can't dodge all the hacks coming at you, but yeah, hey, only one has to work, and that's the sad part. it's very much in the attacker's favor when it comes to this kind of thing. So everyone, music means that we are just about done for the day. I want to thank you so much for tuning into Computer America. And yeah, I hope that you had fun. Again, we talked to Viewsonic. We talked about their monitors, their professional lineup, their color accurate, super impressive monitors, ranging anywhere from just a couple $100, $300-400, all the way up to $1,000. Yeah, you know, when a monitor starts out at a couple hundred, you know these things are going to be good. And hey, if you want to find out more, check out their website or check out computeramerica.com. Highly encourage that you do that. And hey, we definitely love hearing from you. Reach out to us on social media. Find us on Twitter. Hey, it may actually be us answering back. Find us on Twitter, find us on Facebook, and give us a follow, give us a like, and hey, find our podcast as well. So everyone, that's about it. Thank you so much for tuning in to Computer America. Next time on the program, more computer technology news, more great guests, and hey, thank you so much for tuning in. Everyone, have a great day. Thank you so much. Bye, everyone.